Hey there, today we're going to be exploring some of the less talked about sections of the Garry's Mod modding community. That's right, today we're talking about game modes. Garry's Mod game modes change the core way the game is played. It can become more of a horror game than it already feels when playing solo, to whatever homie grad is. If you have any other game modes that you want to see talked about in a part 2, let me know below, but come with me to an underrated part of the Garry's Mod add-on section. What is LiDAR? Now LiDAR, or Laser Imaging Detection and Ranging, according to Wikipedia, is a method that determines ranges by targeting an object or a surface with a laser and measuring the time for the reflected light to return to the receiver. It is commonly used to make high-resolution maps with applications in surveying, geodesy, geomatics, archaeology, etc., and makes digital 3D representations of areas on the Earth's surface and ocean bottom. Now, for those with a brain or an understanding of the topic, this should hopefully make some form of sense. But for those like me who have goldfish brain, I'm going to reword it for us. Laser, leave dot. Many dot, make map. Use map to see. And for the people who are confused as hell about all the words I just said, I'll get into the map in a sec and put it into action. This add-on was made by a controversial figure in the Garry's Mod modding community. If you're curious to hear about what happened with them, feel free to let me know and I'll make a video on it sometime. Now, with all that said, why don't we get into the game mode? Now you may be wondering, Fred, why are we just on a black screen? Well, funnily enough, we aren't. We're actually in a map I'm sure you all know. See if you can guess it when I start using the LiDAR system. By the way, this mod reverses the maps, like the Rebirth Trials and Outlast Trials, so you should know it. It'll just be a little different. Welcome to LiDAR. The description says it's an experimental add-on, so we should be safe to just walk around blind. Especially because I know this place so well. Now, the idea that I can't see without the dots and scanning is scary. So to do away with my fear, I drew a skyscraper and two of those large Las Vegas domes beneath it. But I was still feeling rattled, so I wrote out a subliminal message that only the most hardcore viewer would know what it meant. Please subscribe. If you can't tell, this is GM Construct, just flipped around. It's still the same old empty game. The only thing that doesn't get scanned is the water though. That's gotta be so scary, jumping into the water, not being able to see anything around you, and just kind of floating in a dark abyss. Anyway, after traversing around the map for about 5 minutes, this happened. As we just saw, a red man appeared in our LiDAR vision and our display shuts off with some text stating an error occurred. In case it isn't obvious, this is a horror mod, based on the concept used in the game Scanner Sombra. As the vision reboots, we notice there's an outline of where the man was, and the colour has drained from many of the dots. There's also now an ominous ambience instead of the silence we had, besides the LiDAR scanner. The game has taken a complete tonal shift, from an experimental add-on to test new technologies in Garry's Mod, to a game that has you scanning constantly to see what is stalking you from the dark. And you'd be right to, because we now know that we aren't the only ones here. It's just a matter of time before we see it again. Now, on my first test of this mod, I was not expecting it to be horror, so when it showed up, I immediately shit my pants and closed the game. After a quick cleanup, I went back into the mod more prepared this time to see what the rest of it had to offer. And that's pretty much all the mod did have to offer. After this, the man will appear every now and then. You can scan his outline until he disappears, but there's no actual ending. He just stalks you until you finally leave. I think this mod is certainly unique, and the LiDAR concept has always been a really interesting mini-genre in horror games. But I think we've explored all there is to do for this mod, so why don't we grab our popcorn and move on to something a little bit more comfortable. But not before I write one more secret message. I wonder what it could mean. So, upon loading in to the most popular map, I walked over to one of the cinema screens to set up. I walk in, and I see this. So I follow the instructions, and this appears. Right, I forgot that shut down years ago. Alright, let's try this again. I load into the most popular map, yada yada, walk into the screen, and this time, no Adobe Flash. So, I go find my seat and I get comfy. Now, Cinema is a pretty simple game mode that I won't need a Wikipedia article to describe. Pretty much, just imagine getting some friends together for a movie or YouTube night, everyone lining up their picks and just binging and talking whilst wearing crappy meme avatars from 2012. Now, we're going to ignore my For You page as it's just source games or food content, but it's an extremely easy tool to use. Just click on the video you want, click the request link button at the top, and it automatically loads it up to you on the big screen. I've always liked the idea of watching real videos in video games. Take those cinema rooms in VR chat, for example. Being able to be in a completely new and different atmosphere that you know isn't real, but being able to watch the same thing with people all around the world, or in private instances where you can put on whatever you want, is something that I just really like. I can watch on the moon, in a home theater, anywhere really. I think this game mode makes movies really accessible to so many people around the world. Not everyone has all the subscriptions required in today's world, and some aren't ready to sail the seven seas. So being able to watch blockbuster hits from the comfort of your own home with only the payment of one game just adds to the endless amount of content that games like Garry's Mod has to offer, and I think that just makes me love this game so much more. This segment isn't going to be that long as it's an easy game mode to sum up, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on what is a really cool game mode, and a good way for people to spend time together, enjoying funny and creative art in the forms of videos and movies. There are many cool maps to do with this game mode as well, especially this one. I can't get it to work for me, but if you can, let me know, as it looks pretty cool. The multiplayer maps for the game mode, however, are certainly unique. If you're curious, then by all means go ahead, but I'm not going back to some of those. I'm looking at you, CinemaSin. Alright, now that we've had our fill of cinema, why don't we move on to something a little more unique than the last two? Now this segment is probably going to be the longest, but it's certainly the most interesting. Echoes Beyond is a mod created by modders Aspect and Pancakes and uses a concept made in a level from the Beginner's Guide. If you don't know, the Beginner's Guide is a 2015 game made by Everything Unlimited, which is the figurehead development name for video games created by Davey Wreden, one of the co-creators of the Stanley Parable. The game was actually quite popular at the time, but has now faded into obscurity, with only a mention by a man who I think used to work at Blizzard.
I want you to play this game.
Anyway, the concept is that you can leave a message in any map in Garry's Mod, and it can be seen by anyone who plays the map. So you can leave one in GM Construct in single player, and it will appear in anyone's GM Construct who plays using the mod for them to read. It's a super interesting way to reach out to others with the same interest in games, shows, maps, etc. Reading many of them feels like scrolling through an old discussion board where everyone leaves their thoughts and you're able to do the same. The map that sparked this concept isn't a very populated map, which is the one you're seeing in the background. There's a list in the mod that shows how many echoes are across every map, so feel free to go and explore your favourite ones. This idea really stuck with me when I played the Beginner's Guide, and when I found this mod. Here's my interpretation. I believe that everyone who leaves a note is reaching out. Remember when I made that comment about the discussion board? Everyone here wants to talk to others about their interests, similarities with others, or just put their words out there to feel heard. That's why I left a few notes actually. Everyone here has a voice that wants to be heard, maybe remembered, but they all also want to leave a mark. Now, I may be way off compared to what others think, and it may not even be that deep. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share them in the comments. But I like my thoughts on this mod, as it feels like everyone who leaves a note leaves a little part of them in your lives, and I just find that very special. Mods like these are why I believe Garry's Mod has to have one of the most creative communities in gaming. Sure, there are those build-a-boat for treasure players who make glizzy carpet bombs, but over the nearly 20 years since Garry's Mod released, the Steam Workshop has new content daily with a variety of quality, or not so quality, content for the 30,000 daily players to use and enjoy for their own maps and videos. Their creativity is what makes me want to try and become creative myself with these videos, which in turn helps me work on public speaking and my editing skills. By the way, I've changed my editing software, so I hope the quality of this video is able to showcase my growing skills as an editor and hopefully a creator too. Now you may have noticed a yellow note left by this painting. Well, yellow notes are actually the ones that you leave behind, so that's my note. I'm not going to show you guys what it says, but feel free to explore if you download the Beginner's Guide map packs. Anyway, I'm going to let the rest of this map do the talking for me, as I believe these notes can definitely speak a lot on the thoughts of these people better than I can. I just feel this map perfectly explains what this idea is supposed to convey, and it might just be me being biased because this is from my favourite game. With that, just enjoy the rest of the ambience, and enjoy reading the notes, and I'll see you guys at the end. And this is where the room ends. In the game, this is the last place we see this idea. For those who haven't played, the notes only appear in this map and are in fact not written by tons of players, but instead all written by the dev. Luckily, however, the Garry's mod version are all real people. I hope. I think that Garry's mod is one of the few games where a mod like this would actually work. Similar ideas have been made with the Roblox game Leave a Note before that got taken down. But I think seeing people's desire to leave something behind in some form of legacy is one of the most interesting things about every human. I wonder what we'll all leave behind. Thank you for making it to the end. I hope that this video was more enjoyable than the last, and the ones that come are more enjoyable than this one. I'm still in the early stages of figuring out what content is for me, and how to make what I envision in my head. I hope you all give me good criticism but still come back for more. Feel free to also leave ideas as to what I should make next in relation to Source games, and I'll take it into consideration. Again, thank you all for being here, I hope you enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to seeing you later. Bye for now.